Hello everyone. Today we are going to start with the gut embryology, and yes, the very first topic that we are going to discuss in this, it is the folding of the embryo. Now, before actually starting with the gut embryology, let us first discuss the folding of the embryo. Now remember, it is the process, or I can say the process of transformation. Okay, it is the process of transformation of the early disc shaped embryo. Earlier the embryo was disc shaped, now it will change into an embryo proper, right? So it is the process of transformation of the early disc shaped structure to embryo. Okay, to embryo. Now embryo, basically it is the definite shape, right? To the definite shape, this folding is required. To acquire the definite shape, this folding is required, right? So you already know that it is happening by the end of the third week, right? It is happening by the end of the third week. And we already know by the end of the third week, all the three germ layers are formed, right? All the three germ layers are formed. We have the ectoderm, endoderm, and the mesoderm, right? Ectoderm, endoderm, and the mesoderm. Now, folding of the embryo, it starts at the end of the third week. Folding of the embryo, it starts at the end of the third week. It starts at the end of the third week. Now let us draw a diagram and try to understand how this folding will take place, right? Now you already know that we have the amniotic cavity, right? Now let us suppose that this is the ectoderm, the definitive ectoderm, and we also have the definitive endoderm, right, with the yolk sac. Now this is the endoderm, and you already know that this is the amniotic cavity, and this is the yolk sac, right? This is the yolk sac. In between the ectoderm and the endoderm, it is clear that what is formed? Yes, we have the mesoderm, right? We have the mesoderm. So now in the mesoderm, you are very much aware that, let us suppose this is the cranial or the head end of the embryo. Okay, and this side, it is the caudal end of the embryo or the tail end of the embryo. Right. So now this is the amniotic cavity, yolk sac, everything you already know. Now in the mesoderm, now this yellow colored area, right? This yellow colored area, you already know this is the mesoderm, right? Now in the mesoderm, we have the neural tube, right? We have this neural tube. This is the neural tube. Let me just write it over here. Yes, it is the neural tube. We have the notochord, right, notochord, and at sides we have the neural crest cells. So this is the neural crest cells, right. So in the mesoderm we already knew about this. Now there are two places over here, right, there are two places over here where this mesoderm will be absent, right, where the ectoderm and the endoderm will meet each other, right, towards the head end and towards the tail end. We have these two places where this mesoderm is absent, right. So yes, we already know this. This is called as the buccopharyngeal membrane. Buccopharyngeal membrane. It is also called as the buccopharyngeal membrane. It will rupture to form the opening of the mouth, and this is the cloacal membrane, right. This is the cloacal membrane which will rupture to form the opening of the anus, right. Buccopharyngeal membrane ruptures to form the opening of the mouth, and that's why the mesoderm is absent. No, if the mesoderm is present, then the rupture would not be that easy, right. It will make the membrane more thick. So yes, it will open in the mouth, and this is the cloacal membrane will rupture to form the anal opening. Now there are three structures over here. The third one, that is the buccopharyngeal membrane, you already know. To the lateral side, beta, to the lateral side we have a specialized area, okay, we have a specialized area for the development of the heart, okay, for the development of the heart, okay, towards the head end, and this is called as the pericardial activity, okay. It is called as the cardiogenic area, and in this area basically what is happening, the heart is developing, and just lateral to this we have an area of the mesoderm which is called as the septum transversum. Now septum transversum, it is the major part, the diaphragm. The major part of the diaphragm, it is developing from the septum transversum, and there are many more structures that will be developed from the septum transversum, right. Now again you have to remember that there is a projection of the yolk sac, right. There is a projection of the yolk sac which is called as the allantois, right. It is called as the allantois, okay. So I am just drawing it like this. This is the projection of the yolk sac. This is the yolk sac only, no? So this is the projection of the yolk sac, that is called as the allantois, right. And at this caudal end we have the connecting stalk, right. So when the folding takes place, now beta, there are two types of folding. Now there is head folding and the tail folding, and there is something which is called as the lateral folding of the embryo. Over here, the head end will fold and the tail end will fold, and automatically the lateral ends, the amniotic cavity will come and enclose all these structures, right. Because of the increase in the amniotic cavity, it will try to come along the sides, and yes, let me just show you a diagram. Let me just make a diagram how this folding looks like, so it will be like clear to you people that you already know. Let's suppose the amniotic cavity will get started to fold. Yes, this is how the folding will look like. So yes, and over here you can also see that we have the yolk sac which will come in this folding, right. The yolk sac which will come into this folding, and a portion of the yolk sac will come into this connecting stalk or the umbilical cord, right? Connecting stalk is the one which will form the umbilical cord. So yes, both the ends, no, they will start folding with each other, and the yolk sac will be invaginated inside, and that will be now called as the gut. That will be now called as the gut, and there will be two projections of the gut. There will be two projections of the gut, right? There will be two projections of the gut coming. So one projection, you already know, it is called as the vitello-intestinal duct, and the other projection, it is called as the allantois. Other projection, it is called as the allantois. So you already know, yeah, you already know we have now what areas first it will come. Now let's first discuss about the areas. We already know that, yeah, this will be the area of what we say, the septum transversum will be there, the cardiogenic area will be there next to it, right? All these area will be like, for example, let us, if this is folding, so which area will come now down? It will be the septum transversum, then the cardiogenic area will be there, and then the stomatodium will be there, right? The buccopharyngeal membrane wala part will be there, where the mesoderm would be absent, right? Now there will be a part which will be enclosed towards the head, and that is the foregut part, and towards the tail we have the hindgut part, and the part which is intervening in between the two, the foregut and the hindgut, it is called as the midgut. The foregut and the hindgut, it is called as the midgut, right? And there will be two projections of this yolk sac, right? This is called as the vitello-intestinal duct, and this is called as the allantois. This is called as the allantois, right? Now they both will be connected to this umbilical cord, which I want to draw right now. This is, let us suppose this is the umbilical cord. Now umbilical cord will be everything which is coming inside it, right? So this whole structure will be called as the umbilical cord. Now umbilical cord, if I ask you the contents of the umbilical cord, so you will say me allantois, right? Allantois will be there, vitello-intestinal duct will be there, right? Two umbilical arteries and one umbilical vein, right? Two umbilical arteries and the one umbilical vein, right? So that is how, like, you have to, it is now the definitive yolk sac which is now converted into the gut, and there are two extensions into the umbilical cord. Now this is the umbilical cord, and yes, these are the allantois and the vitello-intestinal duct. So this is how, like, the folding takes place laterally, and it grabs a small amount of the yolk sac that will be now called as the gut, which is divided into foregut, midgut and hindgut. Foregut towards the part which is enclosed by the head portion, it is called as the foregut. The part which is enclosed by the tail portion, it is called as the hindgut, and the intervening part between the foregut and the hindgut, it is called as the midgut. Now let us understand about the development of the foregut, midgut and hindgut first, how they are developed, right? How they are developed. So you already know that we have, yes, now I'm just talking about the yolk sac, right? So the yolk sac is now developed into foregut. Now this is the foregut, right? This is the gut tube. Now if I say this is the gut tube, and this portion, it is the foregut which I am drawing, right? Yes. Now this is the anterior side, ये आगे का side है, और ये posterior side है. This is the posterior side, anterior and posterior side, and you already know Now this is the foregut, then we have the midgut and we have the hindgut. Now how foregut, midgut and hindgut they are divided? They are divided with the dorsal aorta. They are divided with the help of this dorsal aorta, okay, which is on the posterior wall, okay. The artery which is supplying the foregut, okay, the artery which is supplying the foregut, it is called as the celiac trunk. The artery supplying the midgut, okay, it is the superior mesenteric artery, and this artery supplying the hindgut, it is the inferior mesenteric artery. So that is something you already know from the abdomen, that this is the dorsal aorta. We have the celiac trunk, okay, celiac trunk, superior mesenteric artery, and the inferior mesenteric artery. Okay. So foregut, midgut and hindgut, they are divided on the basis of the branches they are receiving from the dorsal aorta, right? The celiac trunk supplies the foregut, the superior mesenteric trunk supplies the midgut, and the inferior mesenteric trunk, it supplies the hindgut. Now the foregut, you already know the foregut, it forms the floor of the mouth, okay, it forms the floor of the mouth. It forms the tongue, right? It forms the pharynx, okay, it forms the pharynx, the palate, the submandibular and sublingual gland, submandibular and sublingual glands, okay, it also forms the esophagus, the stomach, liver, and most importantly, it is the proximal half of the duodenum. Proximal half of the duodenum. Till proximal half of the duodenum, we call it as the foregut, right? And yes, also along with that, it will form the extrahepatic biliary apparatus, okay, and it will also form the pancreas, right? And till the proximal half of the duodenum, we will call it as this, right? Now then what will the midgut form? The midgut, it will form the distal half of the duodenum, distal half of the duodenum, right? It will also form the jejunum, it will also form the ileum, right? All the parts of the small intestine, duodenum, jejunum and ileum, right? It will also form it will also form the cecum, the appendix and the ascending colon, and right 2/3 of transverse colon, right 2/3 of transverse colon. And yes, we have the hindgut, it will form the left 1/3 of the left 1/3 of the transverse colon, right? Descending colon, sigmoid colon, descending and sigmoid colon, right? Descending and sigmoid colon, rectum and upper part of anal canal, upper part of anal canal, right? So you already know that. If I just want to show it in this picture, so you can very well see that yes, the dorsal aorta, which is developing in the mesentery. Dorsal mesentery, it will supply the foregut, celiac trunk, midgut, superior mesenteric artery, and the hindgut, that is the inferior mesenteric artery. Inferior mesenteric artery, right? So yes, if we just, I want to highlight this. You already know, let us suppose this is the gut tube. This is the gut tube and we have three parts: foregut, midgut and hindgut, right? So the junction between the foregut and the midgut, it is the major duodenal papillae. It is the major duodenal papillae, okay? And the junction between the midgut and the hindgut, it is the junction between right 2/3 and left 1/3 of the transverse colon. Left 1/3 of the transverse colon. Thank you.